and welcome to The Conversation with Al McFarlane. I am W.D. Foster Graham, and I am the book review editor for Inside News, and I am your host for today's Book Chat Thursday edition. On The Conversation of Al McFarlane, we provide robust, stimulating, inspiring, and informative conversations with guests from the African and African American diaspora. We are currently at surpassed 1,400 subscribers, and we are shooting for that 2,000 mark. So, if you are tuned in and you like enjoy our content, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Today, our guest is Ms. Tanika West, and she is a multifaceted wellness professional with over 20 years in human services and 18 years in clinical social work. And she's specializing in grief, trauma, and emotional wellness. She integrates mental health, spirituality, and healing through therapy, coaching, and training. She's a graduate of Central High School and multiple institutions, including Benedict College and the University of South Carolina. She is also a certified birth and end-of-life doula, life coach, ordained elder, and proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, Incorporated. She is the author of What Do I Do When Mommy Is Gone, the creator of therapeutic card decks, and the developer of the adult children's book genre, blending clarity, compassion, and creativity to bring healing to individuals and communities. So, it is my great pleasure to introduce to you on this conversation Al McFarlane, Tanika West.
Hey, everybody. You make me sound real good there, WD.
Thank you, Tanika.
I want to meet that person you're talking about.
Me too. Yes, definitely. You mentioned Central High School. You talking about Minneapolis Central or St. Paul Central?
St. Paul Central High School, Minuteman till I die. Absolutely.
There you go. There you go. And so now tell us something our viewers know about yourself, about how you grew up,
Well, I grew up with a very culturally rich family, especially in music. My father is a jazz musician. He can play classical music. He can punish children that don't want to play. He's awesome. My mother was a gospel choir director, songwriter. Overall, she was a foster parent for 19 years. So we grew up with a very big and very robust and very passionate sense of community and culture. And I was allowed to be as free as any kid could be within those confounds of, respect, the things that we don't normally see nowadays, respect and reverence. I was allowed to dance. I'm classically trained in ballet and tap through Central High School and through Arlene Van. My dad taught me how to play the piano. I'm not as great as he is, but I could read a little bit. I could plunk a little bit. My mother taught me how to direct the choir. And I was just encouraged to be everything I could be, and some things I probably couldn't be, and some things I probably shouldn't be, but it was the belief and the importance and freedom of being able to do those things, at least try.
Hey, that's a family I love growing up in, and that was part of what I grew up with as well. Now, who would you have considered, and since you kind of touched on it when you're talking about growing up, who were the persons who you would consider were your mentors? Who were the persons that impacted you, as you were growing up, as you had making that transition from a child to an adult?
So I feel like that's a loaded question. I feel like you're setting me up for multiple calls and nasty posts on Facebook, but I'm going to try. So there were so many to name. Okay. I would have to start with, of course, my parents, my mom and my dad and my stepmom, Dorothy. I had a lot of mamas. Some have gone on. My godmom, Thelma Buckner, I'm sure you know her or know of her.
Yep.
Woman. My dance teacher, Arlene Van, great woman. They call her Herbie, one of the best female drummers I have ever laid my eyes on. I call him Deacon Harris, but his name is Terry Harris, and his wife Sylvia. Just great people. My auntie Darlene and her mom, Miss Catherine Harris, just great people that thought it not robbery to pour into me and continue to pour into me and to call me to the carpet when I wasn't doing right and to, and to pat me on my head when I was doing wrong, who showed up for me when other people, thought it was too much. I could really go on. Let's see who else. My Uncle Grant.
I know Grant.
Oh, that's my boo thing. Don't tell her he's my boo thing, because we have one of those relationships where we're as nice as we can be, but not as nice as we can be. The same relationship I have with my dad, because they're brothers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so my Uncle Grant, I watched him build with Reverend Walker West from almost like the ground. Like I remember when they were getting it out the dirt, my grandmothers, my aunts, my grandmother Lee Eloise and Corrine Virginia, Uncle Grant and my dad's mom, my aunt Rosemary, my aunt Wanda. I got an older cousin named Lachelle Smith. She'll be doing the reading for me at the book signing. Her and my cousin Siobhan and my cousin Christine, my cousin Lachelle Smith. My Uncle Donnell. Like I had a family that I didn't really need outside people, but they knew enough to go and get those outside people and bring them in because they wanted me to have they wanted me to have, because parents have to be parents, right? They have to be parents. So then you have somebody over here that, okay, this person doesn't have to be a parent. Maybe they can be a friend, but have that parental kind of authority where you can, and then, aunties, they kind of let you get away with everything. So you got your little aunties here. And it's just my Uncle Willis. I watched business professionals, and nobody in my family was kind of in mental health, but they were all like business professionals and caring professionals and artistic and culturally aware and just very well-rounded. I wasn't one of those kids who had to, we need to get you a math tutor or we need to get you an English tutor. It was like, hey, do you want to learn how to play piano? Do you want to learn how to skip? Do you want to, whatever?
Yes.
We can do that for you, and I don't think that a lot of kids have that, and then I had somebody worried about me spiritually. Deacon Harris, Terry Harris, worried about me spiritually, kept his hand on me spiritually all the time. There's just so many. Even the people who let me come to their house when I should have been at home, Miss Lenny just letting me, be at her house, hanging out with her daughter, when I could have been anywhere doing anything. I just felt I had a very rich upbringing in childhood.
Yeah, I say that is awesome. That's what I think about when you think about the village that we talk about as we raise their children. I can relate because when I was growing up, back in the day, I didn't have, say, one set of parents. I had 20.
Right.
And it was a time you see it more then than you do now in terms of, and everybody in the community was looking out for everyone else's kids.
Right.
And then as the way as you described it. So
and yes. You were almost anxious because if you got in trouble up the street on the corner and that person had to call your mama, you already knew what was going down. So you were kind of like circling the block, circling the house, like I'm not gonna go until I have to because I already know what's gonna go down. I used to, if I would get in trouble in school, because it was always for talking, I got that from my mama too.
Mm-hmm.
If I was to get in trouble in school, I would um, want them to call my dad, because my dad was real. He was a real softie on me.
Mm.
Um, but those few times they called my mom, I get in trouble with my mom, and then I would just be ashamed to go to church because there was a lot of people that was like, "Hey, your mom told me you got in trouble," and I was like, "Oh God,"
Yeah.
you
Yep.
know. Yeah, so I get that, and it's missing nowadays. It's
Mm-hmm.
missing that. You're afraid to say anything to people's children nowadays. I actually I do individual therapy sessions with clients, and I tell their parents, from this is my kid too. This kid, I know you birthed this kid, but as long as I'm seeing them, they're my kid too.
Mm-hmm.
So if I see them doing something wrong, I'm gonna reprimand them. I'm gonna let them know, hey, that's wrong. I said, so if you have a problem with that, let me go ahead and get you assigned to another therapist, because that's how I work. And you would think that most of the parents would be oppositional to that. I've had some parents say, "No, I want another therapist," but the majority, 98% of them are like, "Nope, love it. Here, take my other kid too." So I feel like the community is really missing that. I feel like that is something that if we took a poll,
Mm-hmm.
people would be like, "Of course, I would love that," but everybody's afraid nowadays.
Mm. And that's something that I would see is I probably ask the question how we can address that so that we to strengthen that sense of community and to say and combat the fear.
Um, so number one, it starts like anything else, from relationship.
Mm-hmm.
We have to know the people in our communities. I tell people all the time, my daughter's 18. I just dropped her off at college
Uh-huh.
Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tell her all the time, I say, wherever I leave you, I trust the people I leave you with. So that
Mm-hmm.
means if they tell you to do something and you don't do it, and they spank you or they reprimand you, they have my authority. I've given them my authority, because if
Mm-hmm.
I don't trust you to discipline my child, I'm not going to leave my child with you just to hang out. Because I'm
Yeah.
not leaving where I'm at to come to where you're at to discipline them or to fuss at them. And I don't want to hear the report about how, oh, they didn't do this or they didn't do that. If I leave them with you, then I'm leaving them with you because I trust you.
Yes.
And that comes from relationship. I think that we don't have interpersonal relationships anymore. We don't talk to people outside of the phone. We only text. I'm guilty. I love a good text. we don't we don't talk to people in person. We don't sit down at dinner without our phones in our hands,
Mm.
doing this. We don't go out to the community and go to the park and meet at the park unless they're giving away something free. We
Mm.
don't stay after church and talk to the church mothers and establish relationships. We're so easily offended nowadays. And these are the things that you have to you thwart by establishing relationship.
Mm-hmm.
you know
Yes.
hey, I don't always have to be giving you something. Hey, let's go sit at the park and let's talk. Let's have a play date with our children. Let me see how you interact with your child, so before I let you interact with mine, because that way I can trust you. And if I can trust you, then I can invite you into my community, and I can trust you with my feelings, my things that are valuable.
Yes.
You don't just go throw your diamond rings in the middle of, I don't know, the junkyard, because you can't trust them with things that are precious.
Mm-hmm.
My kid is precious. My circle is precious. My energy, my time, my mind, all these things are precious. So I foster relationship so that I'm able to trust the people around me. And when I'm able to trust them, I'm able to give to them the things that I find value in.
Indeed. Like what they say, that's the crucial element here
Mhm.
in terms of, say, forming relationships. Because when I think about as a growing up in the community, that was about those relationships.
Mhm.
Where literally everybody knew everybody or knew of everybody because of those relationships.
Mhm.
So I want to ask you too. Now you talked about a lot of the persons who have impacted your life, and say, hey, shout out that Tanika is talking. is inclusive of everybody. So hey, no negative tweets or texts or any of those things.
Absolutely.
She's inclusive. So you heard it here.
Right.
Now, would the persons that were in that circle also impact you as a writer?
My uncle Grant
Mhm.
impacted me greatly as a writer. I'm sure he doesn't know, but I remember the books that he wrote. I remember the story about marbles that he wrote. He, to me, the stuff that I heard him write, or that I heard of him or was aware of him writing, or that I've read, have been stories like recounts,
Mhm.
historical retellings of his life, or like events in his life. As a writer, I have to say this, so I will tell you this, and it sounds very cliche, but it's the absolute truth. This book came straight from God.
Amen.
Yes, I was inspired by my uncle. My uncle showed me that it could be done, that it wasn't as difficult as, when we look at things, sometimes we think that they're bigger than they are, right? My uncle was very, my dad wrote music, but my uncle wrote words. He wrote
Mhm.
books. And so, I saw from both of them that these things can be done. My mother wrote eloquently in whatever my aunt, amazing orator. That's what I was thinking of earlier. Orator and music, lyric writer, music writer. She can write a letter that'll make you quit your job. Just amazing. I tell she's the queen. She's the princess of nice nasty because she's super saved. I'm the queen of nice nasty because God is still working on me.
Ah.
So, but those, they showed me the power of words.
Mhm.
Even when I read the Bible, I pay attention to where the comments are. Well, why did they choose that word instead of this word? Why did they choose? Because words, in whatever order you put them in, not only the word but the order, but the context. These things mean something. But I can truly say that this book came directly. It is spiritually imparted. It's ever revelatory. This book came directly from God. I did not set out to write this book. In fact, I could tell on myself and tell you that I have 5 books that are unwritten, unfinished, that I did set out to write, that are not finished.
Ah.
And so for this one to be one and be the latest one and be finished, lets me know that this was not me.
Mhm.
And I have to give credit where credit is due.
That's right.
Like I said, I've been in Atlanta for 10 years. I have one book on my flash drive that the flash drive has cobwebs on it. I've been writing it for 10 years.
Mm.
I have one book I've been writing for 7 years. I have a workbook for relationships that I've been writing for about 7 years or so, 7, maybe 8 years. This book, it took me less than 2 months. And that's with formatting and everything. So I
Right.
know this wasn't part of, I know this was something that the world needed to hear, that needed to come out and needed to be out, because if that wasn't the case, it would be in my cobweb files.
Mhm.
So, I think my inspiration is vast, but my impartation was specific to this.
Indeed. So that being said, what inspired you to write When Mommy Is Gone in a children's book format? Especially knowing that adults will be reading between the lines.
Well, that's exactly why. You answered that, because adults will be reading between the lines. So that reason is twofold.
Mhm.
The first thing is simply that I don't know about you. I'm not quite retired yet. I'm working 2 jobs trying to put a daughter through
Mhm.
college, and I'm trying to work on fostering my own business, my own niche, my own things on the side. my mental
Right.
health services on the side, and my doula services, and all of those things you said I'm certified in. I'm trying to get those things up and running. I don't have
Yeah.
time to read 500-page soliloquy or dissertation on how to get over my grief.
Mm-hmm.
I need something that I can read, and excuse my vulgarity, but I need something that I can read on the toilet in the morning. I don't have I don't have 20 days. I don't have 20 minutes out of each day that I can devote. When my head hits the pillow, I don't need to read to go to sleep. I'm tired.
Yeah.
I need to lay down. I don't even need to lay down. I fell asleep yesterday in the chair with my feet on the table. Like
Wow.
what I need is something that can provoke thought
Mm-hmm.
in such a short of time that I can use the time that I have to think about what I've read instead of
Mm-hmm.
reading and not being able to ponder on it.
Yes.
I think sometimes we read things and we see them, but we don't absorb them because we don't have the time to read and absorb, right? Um, when I first started writing the book, I remember saying nobody's gonna get off into this. This is gonna be too trivial and too childish. But after I got all the words out and I put it together, I said, wow, I really feel like this is what we need. That's the first reason.
Mm-hmm.
The second reason is because I don't know anything more that turns somebody into a child than losing their mother or their father.
Mm-hmm.
You can be the biggest, baddest adult. You can be locked up in the penitentiary for murdering 50 people. You can be, I don't know, you could be Muhammad Ali. You can be, the Statue of Liberty, the biggest, hardest person you know. But when you lose somebody that means something to you, there is no, that 3-year-old comes out. That
Mm-hmm.
5-year-old comes out. That 15, 16-year-old kid comes out. That
Mm-hmm.
thing is real.
Mm-hmm.
It is real. So I feel like, I'm not talking to the 50-year-old that lost their parents. I'm talking to the person that was 29 when they lost their parents, but as soon as their mama left, felt like they were 12.
Mm.
I'm not talking to the person that has all of it together because you're grown and you understand, and people that, everybody that lives is going to die. And that's great until it happens to you.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff's all fine and dandy. What do they say? It's always fun until the rabbit got the gun.
Yeah.
So that's who my audience is. My audience is that person that knows that this is my secret place that I can't show to anybody because I got
Mm-hmm.
children dependent on me. So I can't buckle under grieving. I have family that's dependent on me. I got to go to work. I can't sit down and cry, but this gives you a moment, a glimpse into being what you are when you lose somebody who shaped you. If I was to lose I lost my mother. My daughter's 18. I lost my mother 2 weeks after my daughter was born 18 years ago.
Wow.
And in the midst of losing her, and I'm probably going off into another tangent, but in the midst of losing her, I was angry because I had just had a baby, and I was like, you were supposed to be here to help me raise this baby, to show me how to be a good mom. And look, you just left this, you just didn't even care. You just left this baby here all willy-nilly. I don't even have this is, I only want one. So, this is not a test kid. This is the only option that I get. This is the only one I got. And now I'm doing this blind. And I felt like when your mom is trying to teach you how to tie your shoe,
Mm-hmm.
and you're getting frustrated because it looks so easy, and she's doing it and she's getting frustrated. But I felt like a kid whose mom passed before she taught her how to tie her shoe.
Oh, yeah.
Before she taught her how to fry an egg, before she taught her all those things that your mom teaches you, how to make your bed, and I was like, what am I going to do? I felt like a kid. I felt like a kid who got robbed. And I think those things never stop until you get to the age, not even when you have your own children, but when you get to the age where you kind of know everything, air quotes, know everything,
Yeah.
where your parents' voices are just a suggestion instead of like, oh, I'm going to put that in the back of my head because that sounds like something I might need later.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I had been robbed. I felt like I was a toddler being robbed of all of these experiences
Ooh.
because I didn't give her permission to go.
Mm.
But she left anyway.
Left anyway. Wow. That what's some one thing I read in your book. There was a quote that was there that you mentioned, and as I was reading, it stuck with me. And that quote was, "Grief and loss don't get better, just different." Can you expand on that?
So, my meaning behind that is that when I think of something getting better, it means that it changes back to what it was,
Mm.
right? Or it gets better than what it was. It gets greater or easier than what, and this grief never gets easier. It
Mhm.
never gets better. That person will never be back. What it does do is get different. You learn to adapt or to sit in your new reality, right? And
Right.
so it changes your expectations. It changes your views on things. It causes you to pull on what you had with that person or what you had with that entity, instead of waiting on new impartations.
Mhm.
So, like for example, um, no, I didn't have my mother here when my daughter graduated, in May, right? But I pulled on how my mother did me.
Mhm.
And so even though I was missing my mother, I was like, oh, but you left me this. Okay, so I can do this. I can make it through that.
Mhm. Mhm.
I still miss her. The grief is still there. The grief is no better, but it's
Mhm.
different.
Yeah.
It's different. I can't get the new impartation,
Mhm.
but the fact that I realized she
Mhm.
left me this by example, or she left me this by explanation,
Mhm.
right? And so it gives me a different understanding because, cliche, everyone that lives is going to die.
Mhm.
So we have to absorb as much of the energy of people who are around us and who pour into us
Mhm.
so that we will have something to change that grief from pain to memory or from
Mhm.
pain to reference. And that's the difference. The pain is still there,
Yes.
but it manifests into something like when you plant a seed, it grows into a rose, but the seed is still there. There is still a
Mhm.
seed. It's different. It's busted open. Something has come out of it, but and it's turned into roots. But the seed is still there. And matter of fact, when you open up the leaves, deep inside the middle of the flower, there's more seeds.
Yes, indeed.
And so that also shows us that we have to not only be appreciative of what's imparted to us so that our grief is able to manifest and metamorphosize, but
Mhm.
we have to be able to pour into others what was poured into us so
Mhm.
that when we go, because we will go, that they're able to pull on things that will change their grief the way our grief is changed,
Mhm.
if that
Indeed.
makes sense.
Yes, it does. So, when I think about that, of course, my parents have gone on to glory. My
Mm.
dad 13 years ago, my mother 2 years ago. But
That's
things I do go in, well, drawing on them also comes to what I'm putting to my son.
right, right. And that stuff right there, that's really, you said your dad was 13 years ago.
13 years ago.
That's still fresh.
Yes.
That's still fresh. People are like 13 years. Well, no, that's still fresh. And your mom was just yesterday,
Yes.
right?
That's right.
It's still fresh. It's like every day we find something or see something that kind of just like pulls the edge of that scab up just a little bit, you know.
Exactly.
And the way the grief changes is when you're in active grief, to me, it pulls the edge of that scab up.
Hmm.
When you are in a healthy place of grief, or you're out of that active stage
Hmm.
and it's getting different, you just kind of look over there and see the scar.
Mm.
you know when something happens, like when I see somebody directing the choir, I just kind of look over there and see the scar. Hey
Hmm.
mama, you know what I mean? As
Yes.
opposed to, there was a time when anybody stood up, I was a blubbering, just I just can't get
Yes.
myself together. you know and so that's how it changes.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it becomes different. That's how it matriculates and metamorphosizes and turns into what you need. It also like I said, turns into what you need in those
Mm-hmm.
times that you need something. There were times when um, I would be at a loss because things weren't working, and it would be something that I knew, my mom would put a snap to real quick and get it together. And,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, I just don't know what I'm going to do, crying. And this didn't have anything to do with my grief, but
Mm-hmm.
I can remember my mom putting a snap to it and get it together. And I was like, okay, I got to get up and, do what I
Mm-hmm.
got to do because
Yeah.
of that.
There you go. There you go. So, what has been the most difficult part of doing mental health work in our community? And how do you stay encouraged when the need is great, but the stigma is still there?
Um, so the biggest thing that has been a barrier for me is we are a people of faith.
Mm-hmm.
um, and people misuse faith and misinterpret faith, and they, and especially in that mental health field.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember that, it's gotten a little bit better, but I can remember when all mental health was a demon possession.
Mm-hmm.
They had them down here try to cast out things that didn't have anything to do with spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually working on a study now between the parallels between mental health and ministry, biblical and spirituality. Um, that is the biggest taboo because our elders are still in that mindset of just pray about it. You don't tell cancer patients to just pray about it. At the risk of running long, and you can tell me to be quiet anytime you want. I like to share the story. I have a play sister who
Mm-hmm.
just passed from colon cancer. Well, a
Mm-hmm.
sister that just passed from colon cancer, sister-in-law. And I'm the person you do not want at the hospital, honey, because I will shut the hospital down. There'll be willing patients out of there. I do not play about people who mean something to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get off work at 5:30 in the morning. She
Yeah.
called me one day. She called me at like 5 o'clock, and she was just bawling.
You're right.
And she was crying so hard I couldn't even hear what was going on. So, I got off work and I drove 30 minutes in 20 minutes
Mm-hmm.
to get to the hospital. So I got to the hospital and I walked in the door, and she said, they told me I just need to accept that I need to change my advanced directives and just don't let them bring me back because of the damage resuscitating me would do with my body as deteriorated as it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so she went on to say, the doctor told her, that she didn't need to be resuscitated, that basically her quality of life would be lower if she got
Mm-hmm.
resuscitated, that she
Mm-hmm.
should not seek any additional treatment. And she was like, they want to kill me. They want to kill me. And so everything in me, I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I guess I'm going to jail today because I was furious. So I went marching down the hallway like Miss CD in the field, right? And
Yeah.
I got to the nurse's station, and I went behind the nurse's station. And I had been there every day. So the nurses that knew me, they were like, are you okay? I said, I didn't come to talk to you. I came to talk to her because the doctor was sitting back. I said, don't go back in my sister's room. If you do, you're going to need a bed and a bedpan in this
Ooh.
very hospital. Don't you go back in there. I said, if you are the only one around, skip her room. Don't go back in there. How dare you tell her that she shouldn't fight if she wants to fight? How dare you tell her that she should just accept? Who are you? You don't know what God allows. How dare you tell her that?
Mm.
Don't say nothing to her. If you see her in the hallway, act like you don't know her. So, because if I catch you in her room again, you're going to be a resident in this hospital. And the nurses was kind of like, and so I went back down the hallway. But what if we thought that way about mental health?
Mm.
What if we insisted that our people who need help because they're depressed, or need help because they have PTSD, or because they have schizophrenia, or because what if it wasn't stigmatized? What
Mm.
if we fought with doctors about making sure that our kids get enough therapy sessions during the month?
Mm.
What if it
Mhm.
wasn't just to get a check? This is the stigma, and that's why I fight for mental health awareness and mental health empowerment,
Mhm.
so that I myself can be empowered. because my mind means everything to me.
Mhm.
Everything. I wake up every morning and I tell myself that my mind means everything to me. And that reminds me not to allow anything into my circle that will jeopardize me maintaining control of my mind.
Mhm.
Because once you lose your mind, you don't even know you lost it because you don't have it to tell you. So I that is my greatest thing. My greatest thing is that mental health is in our community is looked at as a taboo thing that has something to do with spirituality, and they're two separate things. Go to the altar and the appointment.
Yes.
You don't have to choose. Go to the altar and the appointment. Pray about it and get some treatment. You don't tell cancer patients to pray about it. You tell them to go ahead and go to chemotherapy, and we'll keep you in prayer. Well, keep me in prayer, but I'm going to my mental health appointment. I need to tell somebody about this. And we have these things that then what happens is the people don't get treatment because they feel like it's a stigma. They feel like everybody's going to judge them. They feel like it's something to be ashamed of. And then we have them jumping off buildings. We have them killing other people. We have them, they're the ones that's in the basement that nobody talks about, that we just send a plate down to on Thanksgiving. Why? There's all these people around that want to help you. Why? And that's why I'm empowered. That's why I insist. That's why I go on radio shows and podcasts, and I will write in a book and I will tell the world I suffer from depression. I take medications. I have ADD. I take medication because I can't do it by myself.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? You wouldn't tell a
Yeah.
cancer patient, you know what? I know that you have cancer. I know that it's treatable, but instead of you going to chemotherapy or instead of you going to get treatment, what we want you to do is go to the altar and don't tell anybody because you should be ashamed of that. Nobody says that to cancer patients. Nobody says that to people with diabetes. We out here eating Twinkies and got diabetes with no shame.
Mm.
We out here eating plates of French fries and got diabetes with no shame. But I'm supposed to be ashamed of going to therapy and getting the help I need so that I don't jump off the roof of my house? No. That's why I'm so passionate. That's why I'm empowered. That's why I insist on doing what I do, because I don't feel like anyone should be ashamed of getting treatment for something that's just it's an everyday thing.
Yeah.
I separate the world into diagnosed and pre-diagnosed.
Yeah.
People who know they got something and people who don't know they got something and think they okay.
Well, I say that's all about why we have like mental health awareness, especially now more than ever. And that being said, would you share an excerpt from your book?
I would be more than happy to. I will share my two favorite excerpts if you
All
like.
right.
Okay, so you guys excuse my eyes. I'm not cross-eyed. I'm looking at something else. So excuse
Mm.
my eyes. Okay, so one of my favorite pages that people kind of misunderstand, and I like to read it and then kind of explain it, is there's a page that says, I won't become her. I will become greater than her, because that's what she would have wanted. That is all I can do to give her the thanks that she deserves. I will touch her in the faces of my children or in the hands of my friends, knowing that it doesn't get any easier, but it becomes more bearable. For me, when I sent this to the people who were viewing it to see, I got a ding on that each time, and I insisted on keeping it the same way. I don't think any parent who's a good parent wants you to be just as good as they were. Any good parent wants you to exceed and excel well beyond them. Anybody who has your anybody who has your well-being in mind wants you to excel beyond them. I have little cousins that I want to be better than me, mostly so they can take care of me. But on the other hand, so that they can be better. Because what good is me striving and pushing and working if they're just going to get to the same level and strive and push and work? Somebody's got to get there. Somebody's got to be accomplished. I may not make it in my lifetime. My goal is that I set up a foundation big enough and strong enough for my daughter to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And for her daughter, and for her to set up a foundation big enough for her daughter to make it, but not make it as hard.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why that is written that way. And my absolute favorite page is actually the last page, or second to the last page. It says, and I will smile again. I will dance again. I will be happy again. And even though I thought I could never be me without her, I will be a new me when mommy's gone.
Wow.
Because when you're in it, you don't even know. When my mom first died, I didn't even know I was ever. If I hadn't had my daughter 2 weeks before she died, I probably would have got a double wide casket and we probably would have been in there together.
Mm.
Um, you never think you're going to get to a place where it's different. When you're in the midst of it, you never, it's like one day you wake up and you're like, oh, it doesn't hurt that much.
Mm-hmm.
Or it doesn't hurt the same way. But you never, when you're in it, you never think that you're ever going to be better, that you're ever going to be happy, that you're ever going to laugh, that you're ever going to be able to enjoy okra again, because mama's okra was the best and that was your favorite meal for her to cook. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you never think you're going to be able, but I want to ensure and assure you, I want you to look into my eyes and I want to tell you that you will be okay again.
Mm-hmm.
You will be okay again. You will be happy again. You will experience life to the fullest again, even with your grief.
Even with the grief.
Yeah.
And I appreciate what you say in your book, that grief is not something finite, that grief is an ongoing process.
Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't just stop when, when you've had the homegoing and the burial and stuff. It's an ongoing process. And also the 10 different things uh, about grief
Mm-hmm.
that happen with us.
After that stuff goes on, that's when it gets real.
Mm-hmm.
That's after the chicken is gone and nobody else is bringing coleslaw from Kentucky Fried.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it gets real. One of the things about the things that I put in the back of the book, the 10 things to remember,
Mm-hmm.
is I always encourage people, even in my therapy sessions, and especially kids, be nice to the people who support you.
Mm-hmm.
They're just trying to get you back to someone who's functional. They're
Mm-hmm.
just trying to be able to get back to a place where they can discuss people who have died without you, without feeling that guilt. They are going through this with you too.
Mm-hmm.
They're not experiencing what you're experiencing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, but they're absolutely going through this with you. If they are your support system, they are going through this with you. They are feeling hopeless and powerless to help you.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to be compassionate to them, even they are, when we are going through our own grief. We have
Mm-hmm.
to be thoughtful and appreciative because people don't have to be nice. That's
Yeah.
one of the things I say all the time. People do not have to be nice to you. They don't have to support you. They don't have to deal with your crap. They should morally support you when you're grieving, but they do not have to.
Mm-hmm.
So you should be kind to people while you're grieving. That's one thing that I feel like in the 10 things to remember about grief in the end of my book, I feel like that is very important.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is that the other thing back there in the back of the book is talk to someone.
Mm-hmm.
If you need to talk about your grief or your mental health or your sadness or your depression, or if you just need to talk to somebody, talk to somebody. It's
Mm-hmm.
nobody's business. You don't have to let anyone know. You don't have to announce, I'm going to see a therapist. You don't talk to some baby. Let me tell you something. My therapist is well paid.
Mm-hmm.
My therapist is well paid, and I'll shout it from the mountaintops. I'll make me a t-shirt that say I go to therapy faithfully, because I need somebody that I can be transparent with, that can hold me accountable, and I don't feel personally attacked, because oftentimes the people that should hold us accountable don't, because we are so defensive. I had a discussion this morning um, with my spouse, and immediately I heard what was said, and I was like, but wait a minute. And I was like, oh, they're just telling you that because they care about you. You really need to get your life together and quit playing.
Mm-hmm.
Quit playing. Quit penalizing this person for being honest and open with you, because they're coming from a place of care. You have relationship with this person. You can trust this person, you know. And when you have a therapist that can say, hey, I hear what you're saying, but I feel kind of like you playing with me. I
Mhm.
really don't think that you're doing the work that you're supposed to do,
Mm.
you know? And you know that it's from a place of, I'm not trying to get more money from you because you're going to pay me regardless. I'm not trying to, I'm
Yeah.
not trying to be the winner of the argument. I'm not trying to whatever. My motives are pure. I just want you to be okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
And you can tell me your secret thoughts about how I work for a suicide hotline, and some of the people they call us to tell us that they're suicidal because they can't tell their family that
Mm.
they have no intent to kill themselves. They don't want to, but they're feeling like this is the option.
Ah.
And when you feel like this is the option, there's only a couple things that need to happen for you to decide, yeah, this is what I could do. I could do this and everything could be okay. But sometimes when people are able to get those things out and say those things out loud to somebody, to say I'm afraid, to say I'm confused, to say I'm lost, to say I'm depressed, to say I don't know how I'm going to get out of this, to say I'm grieving so much I don't know, I don't want to get dressed. I know people who lost somebody and they didn't get dressed or showered for 2 weeks. And I get it, but baby, go talk to somebody, because life keeps on lifing and we have to live in this place. No matter how sad you are, no matter how depressed you are, we have to live in this place.
Indeed, we do. Indeed, we do. So, do you see yourself writing more books in this space or expanding into other creative healing tools?
So I currently have several grief decks to help kind of foster conversation. Um and and I have one for children that's coming out early September. We're trying to get it out before then, because of the population I'll be meeting with next week. Um, but anything that has something to do with mental health awareness, I am all over. My next endeavor, so I have two endeavors working at the same time.
Yes.
So I am separating my product releases into quarters,
Mm-hmm.
because when something comes in my head, because I have attention deficit disorder, I have to get it out. I can't hold it in my head because I lose potency if I don't get it out.
Yes.
So I'm currently like moving on 3 or 4 different terrains right now. But I will focus on anything that brings awareness to mental health and takes away the taboo. Currently, I'm working on the mental health and spirituality series called The Altar and the Appointment. It is a 2-part book series that has a discussion about the taboo and parallels between spirituality and mental health, how they can coexist at the same time and neither lose validity or potency. And the second part is a set of skits that involves biblical characters with current day therapists sitting down to have a therapy session. These are people that, according to our manual, the DSM 5, can be diagnosed based on scripture.
Hmm.
And so my theologians and my people who are spiritually astute are eagerly awaiting this,
Yes.
probably to tear it apart, but I'm going to
Hmm.
write it anyway. Um, I'm also working on a transition manual, which is a manual that will have kind of workout and planning sections for some of life's major transitions. It will be
Hmm.
separated into 2 books, based on age, from like 16 to 30 and then 30 to end of life.
Hmm.
And it will help you transition and plan on things like becoming an empty nester, going through a divorce, the loss of autonomy, or maybe becoming unable to make your own decisions and stuff like that. um, Planning for your funeral, planning for the loss of a parent, planning for the caring of a parent. So it's kind of like a planner, an advanced directive for when these things happen, or a processing guide for while I'm going through these things. Starting a business, all these things are just like common transitions that change your life that we go through without planning. And then when we mess up, we're messed up. When
Yes.
all it would have taken was 5 minutes for us to sit down and say, okay, this is where my money is going, or this is where my attention is going to be diverted to. These are some things that I need to plan to do. Or, hey, I'm an empty nester now. This is how I'm going to be outside, and these are the things that I need to monitor to make sure I don't do too much of these, so that I can come inside when I want to and I don't offend nobody and they won't let me back inside.
Mhm.
So I'm working on that. I'm also working on a it's not called an end of life deck, but it will be like something that someone is aware that they're
Mhm.
passing away. Like somebody may have cancer, or somebody may be a little bit older in age and know, like I said, everybody that lives is going to pass away.
Yes.
Um, this will be something that will be a deck of cards that combines a type of bucket list type thing, and a type of recording of memories, um, reminiscing of events, so that they can share these events and these historical events and these new events and experiences that they're having before they pass away, with the people around them that love them. You know,
Amen.
so
Amen.
those are the things. All I can say is join what we call the MEs. So I'm called the counseling chef because I'm a
Mhm.
certified chef as well. And so mise en place is a cooking term that they use that means everything in its place.
Mhm.
So that is my focus when I'm linking my mental health and my culinary skills, is mise en place, everything in this place. We want everything. We want you to be whole all the way around.
Mhm.
And so, Beyonce has the beehive and I
Yeah.
have the me's. And
Yes.
so that's my focus in the me. So the only thing I can say is join the me's and look what happens. Look what will happen. Look what brand new products will be released on my website. Look what brand new products I'll be presenting. Look for events where I will come in and I'll do seminars and grief workshops and trauma workshops, mental health awareness workshops. Just join the me's.
Hey, indeed. And speaking of which, Tanika, tell us about your book signing coming up.
Absolutely. I would love to tell you about my book signing. So let me pull it up. So I do have a book signing that's coming up. It's on August 28th, 2025. So all of the people who came to the first book signing, I had one on, I believe it was the 8th of July. I got fussed at more by the people who came because they didn't bring other people. And I was like, it wasn't my fault you guys didn't bring other people. I wanted you to bring everybody. So everybody was kind of asking for me to bring some more to come back. So I'm coming back on August the 28th at 6:15. I'll be at the Communities at River Crossing in their community room. That's at 1730 Graham Avenue West, St. Paul, Minnesota. I would love to see anybody. This is an experience. It's not just like a boring book signing where you go and the person is sitting there and they sign. It's an interactive mental health awareness book signing. If you talk to anybody who went to the first one, I got nothing but great reports. At the risk of sounding like I'm bragging on myself, I've had several people tell me they have never had an experience like that before. I hate saying that because it makes me sound a little braggadocious, but that's what was said to me. So I'm just requoting what was said to me. Um, so I would invite everybody to come out for a unique question and answer session, a mental health awareness book signing. Yeah, you can get your book signed if you want. My signature means nothing if you leave and you're not in the process of healing. If your life is not changed, if your eyes aren't open, my signature means nothing. I don't need to be famous. I want the world to be healed. If I get famous along the way, if somebody gives me the winning lottery numbers, like I won't complain. But if they don't, if they come and their lives are changed, I'm all for it. I am the counseling chef everywhere. You can follow me everywhere on the counseling chef and see what I'm doing. Please follow me. I don't walk that fast. You can follow me on Facebook at the counseling chef, Instagram at the counseling chef, TikTok at the counseling chef, and I am thecounselingchef.com. So if you need any information on this book signing that's going to happen in St. Paul, Minnesota on August the 28th, 2025 at 6:15 at the Communities at River Crossing Community Room at 1730 Graham Avenue West, St. Paul, Minnesota, you can get that information from myself, the website, thecounselingchef.com, or you can reach out to me at thecounselingchef.com, at the counseling chef at thecounselingchef.com.
Great. Well, you heard it here, everybody. Say come on out for book signing and a very interactive, event. So we just have a few minutes before we sign out, and I'm going to ask you a question. I asked this to all of my authors.
Okay.
And it's this: what advice would you give to your 13-year-old self from where you are now?
Don't give up. This doesn't matter. That's what without unequivocally, don't give up. This doesn't matter. When I was 13, I was unpopular. I was, I don't even want to say a nerd because I wasn't even popular enough to be a nerd. I was, I was just kind of, going to school because I had to. I was bullied. I'm 6 feet tall both ways, been 6 feet tall my whole life, and people were still beating me up. Not many, because my mama was a thug, but I would say this doesn't matter in the grander scheme of things, baby. This doesn't matter. All you got to do is hold out. Just hold out. Just trust me. I say that to the 13-year-olds right now. This does not matter. It's uncomfortable. It's unpleasant. You shouldn't have to go through it. But two things can exist at the same time. It's okay. It doesn't matter. This stuff does not matter. Just hold out. Just hold out.
Indeed. And I definitely appreciate your sharing. And I appreciate the fact that, just like we need to have physicians for our physical health, we have therapists for our mental health. And since they are, shall we say, connected and stuff, so we have to cover spiritual, emotional, and physical health in terms of our going. And I do appreciate that. One thing I know is that you have spaces where people can journal. They can write things down, get it out of the head in your book.
Absolutely. I feel like I say all the time, and I said it before, my mind means everything to me. I have to keep my mind clear. I have to keep my mind protected. I have to protect it at all costs. And I feel like journaling and getting that stuff out is a way for you to keep your mind clear, because those thoughts get involved and it just bleeds all over everything. It just messes up everything when you're not processing those. So even if you don't have a therapist, get that stuff out of you. And then when you decide to get a therapist, take that book and just hand it to them and say, hey, this is where you can start. So yeah, that was important for me to have that journal also. I think that one thing people will find is that all my products are kind of interlaced for each subject. My trauma bundle has trauma cards. It has a book about trauma. It has, that's the way I want to release my product, so that everybody, if you don't get it through the book, maybe you'll get it through the journal. If you don't get it through the journal, maybe you'll get it through the cards. If you don't get it through the cards, maybe you'll get it through the workbook. I just want you to get it. Let's say the church said, I don't care how you get God, just get him.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Well, viewers, you heard it here. And I like to say thank you to Tanika West for sharing her book and sharing her practice, and also an empowerment as the counseling chef and as the author of What Do I Do When Mommy's Gone? And say also how you navigate through that grief and that loss. Again, I thank you so much for being on Conversation with Al McFarlane.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is WD Foster Graham, your Thursday host for the Book Chat Thursday edition of the Conversation with Al McFarlane. Thank you once again, and I'll see you on the next go round.